Hello and welcome to Glitters of Life podcast. I am your host Rohit Kokane and I welcome you back with another exciting episode. And today we have with us Jennifer Correnti and we are going to talk about spirituality, the topic which is very close to my heart. But again, not having the clear clarity about what does it really mean. I totally wish to explore this particular area. So, hey Jennifer, welcome on the show. It is pleasure hosting you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
It is, yeah, I'm totally excited. And the kind of topic that we have chosen for this podcast, it's really important for me to understand the sense of this particular topic because then whatever information that I have read on internet or through the people, it has always been vague. So I do want to know what is spirituality and who is spiritual because some of them claim that spirituality is as superficial and ridiculous as religion. That is what I have heard, but then I totally want to know your point of view and how it can help our audience as well.
So, I think spirituality is quite simply whatever you want to make it. It's your personal beliefs and your personal connection with the unknown, with the spirit realm. There's so many different, um, you know, labels for the higher power that you can come across, especially on the internet, like you said. There's God, there's Source, there's the universe, whatever you want to call it. And I think spirituality is so um, beautiful because, like I
Yeah.
said, it can be whatever you want it to be. It's your experiences with the unknown, and that's why it's just like so special to me because I never was huge into like religion, never really related to that growing up. So when spirituality found me, it felt like something that I could kind of just like bury my soul in, and it's just been really special.
So good to know that. And would love to know what made you to fall in love with spirituality? What was that particular moment that you felt that no, I want to get clarity about this. I want to practice that particular thing because we all need kind of a support from our inner self as well. So it makes you to take those certain steps into that particular direction. So were there any kind of moments into your life that made you feel that no, that I have to practice this and it will sort my life?
Honestly, I always say this, the spirituality found me. I was not looking for it. It came like out of the blue. It almost felt kind of like a download in a way that I was just
Okay.
like here is your saving grace type of thing. I was unfortunately very into like alcohol and substances for a long time, and this was kind of like the turning point for me where I realized that life can go in a different direction and there is more than just kind of sitting in your bed and suppressing, which is what a lot of us do in this modern time. It's a hard society and life to live in nowadays, but I swear like spirituality found me, and I was able to see things from a completely different point of view. And now I'm sober, and now I'm just like, I created this personal brand, and life has just exploded for me in a way I never knew possible until, this like belief came into my life and this like way of life, for lack of a better
Yeah,
term. But
yeah.
yeah.
And we do have all those tough situations and phases into our own life, and then we realize that we are doing something wrong. We have to get on track, and because we get one life and we have to live for once. So right now we are talking on Glitters of Life podcast, and this is where the total essence of that particular word comes into picture. Like you can glitter your life with the kind of moment you have got to live that particular life. But I want to know from you, Jennifer, that you talked about getting into more into alcohol and substance as well. So, were there any kind of people who were backing you through that particular moment? Like you have to get back onto the track, and then were there any kind of a support that you were getting from the people to sort your life out?
Looking back now, at the time, it was very hard for the people in my life to kind of accept what I was going through. A lot of the connections that I had were based around, going out to the bars or partying or whatever it was. So when I decided that I wanted to kind of take a different direction with my life, I did lose a lot of connections, and I
Yeah.
kind of found a different sort of strength within me when I realized that, like, damn, I kind of have to like do this on my own. And I think that is a huge part of spirituality as well, as kind of finding that like higher power within you and realizing that at the end of the day, like, you're all you got, baby. Like, it's great to have connections, don't have me wrong, but like finding that like source of strength and power within yourself can like really propel you forward in life. So I didn't really have a great support system. Now my relationships have kind of like fizzled. Like, the people who I felt like weren't there for me in the past kind of accept that like this is who she is now. Like, she is a spiritual healer who is healing herself and others, and she's got like this business. She just moved across the country. It's like, I'm doing my thing, and it's people have settled into it more, you know?
So good to know that particular transition happening, because we all get that chance to renew our life, and that you have utilized to the full potential is totally amazes me. Now, talking about this very topic, we know that a person can be spiritual and they'll be seeking the spiritual growth as well. So want to know, like, how do you differentiate between like what is spiritual growth and what is spiritual marriage maturity? Because then, due to the vagueness, people always turn away from this particular thing. If you ask me, like, I don't know the exact difference, so I won't be paying a lot of attention to what spirituality is and how do I practice that particular thing, because I don't know the core essence of it. So when we are talking about the growth and the maturity with respect to the spirituality, how do you define that for yourself?
I think spiritual growth compared to like personal growth, if I can kind of shift the question in that
Yeah,
direction,
yeah,
I think dedicating your life to spiritual growth is like the growth of your soul. What can you do to nourish your inside, and not just what physical achievements can I like pursue in this physical world, or like what can I achieve out here? It's what can I achieve in here? You know, like what kind of personal and soul growth can I achieve in this lifetime? And that's, you know, love, happiness, enlightenment, things like that. It's not what job can I get, how much money can I make, like all that stuff, which is all great, but there is that slight difference, and that's where I've found the most fulfillment, is chasing that spiritual, that soul growth, and it just makes you feel so much more like alive and fulfilled,
yeah, yeah,
because at the end of the day, you see it all the time, you know, oh, money, like it doesn't really matter how much money you have, it for certain people that will never fill you up in the way that you need, being a soul in a human body here on this earth, you know?
yeah. That is really a great aspect to look after it, because then we know like money is not the solution to each and every problem. We do need money to survive. We do need money to take care of all our passion or whatever we love to do into this world, or to live a very good life. But then again, if we are seeking happiness, if we are seeking growth, then we know that money is not certainly a factor that should be coming into picture. First, you have to take a lot of efforts to grow yourself as a person. How do you feel from inside? What that is, like whatever you are in inside, that will reflect to the people as well. So what people, how does that particular energy connects with other, is something that we all have to take care of. And for that particular thing, again, we have to grow as a wiser person, is what I believe. And that happens through the spirituality. The kind of example you have given through the personal growth is something that people can relate to. And I again believe that once you are into this particular thing, you always tend to surrender yourself to the unknown. Okay, because it really means to you, and you don't have a clear picture, you just want to see where it leads you. So there could be a fear into this particular process as well, like you never know where you are going, where it is leading you, is it the right path or not. So during this entire particular moment, how do you navigate into this process, and what does it mean to you when you say that I want to surrender to unknown?
This has been one of the most challenging parts of the whole journey for me, is surrendering to that unknown factor. And what I like to do when it's been challenging for me, I like to look back on certain aspects of my life when I had no idea what was happening in that moment. But with the knowledge that I have now, knowing what I know now, was it working out in the best way possible for me and my growth? And 99% of the time, it's yes. So when I can kind of look at those situations in my life and realize that, well, at the time, Jen, you had absolutely no freaking idea what was going on, and you didn't trust and you didn't surrender, but it ended up all working out for you. And you kind of just grow that like trust over time in higher guidance or whatever it is that you are looking up to, your higher self, God, whatever it may be. But having that trust in the unknown will absolutely change your life. And I think it's not something that you can just be like, okay, like I trust, like I'm good. It's something you kind of have to like slowly build up and see and look back on those examples over time, even if they're super small, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just building that up for you.
That's something really exciting. And again, we need to get into that particular position where we understand ourselves first, and then we get to know like where we are surrendering. So, Jennifer, when you started practicing spirituality and when you started getting known about this particular topic or the subject, what was your initial thoughts, and how did you started believing more into it, and then got into the profession as well with respect to the spirituality? Because it's not easier than being said, because
Yeah.
we all know people see the glorious pictures on Instagram or wherever they see us onto the internet, but it's more about the process. You know what kind of situations you are into. You need those kind of moments where you have to navigate yourself. So what were your initial thoughts with respect to the spirituality?
Oh, it was hard to get into it, especially when you want to share like the complete vulnerability of it online. That could be challenging. I'm sure you understand. But online is just a wild place. Like people just have so many opinions and things to say. And at first it can be like kind of soul crushing. You're like, oh shit, like, should I be sharing that? Like, am I crazy? Like, what? But then you kind of like your people come in, and it's like the people who think the same as you, feel the same as you, experience the same as you. Like, they come into your field, and then you feel complete and you feel at home. But at first, it was like, I felt like I didn't want to share my gifts. I felt like I didn't want to share what I was learning because I wasn't surrounded with the right people. So I think if you are going to go down this path, down this journey, the healing journey, the spirituality journey, whatever it may be, just know that it's going to feel super isolating for a little bit until you find like your group of people or the people that relate to you and resonate with you. That's exactly what happened to me. And like, I mentor tons of people where it's happened to them too. They're like, it's so isolating. Like, I feel so alone. And I'm like, that is part of the journey, and it does not last. You will find your people. You will find your people, but that's how it all begins.
It's totally relatable, because when I started podcasting first, I never knew like what kind of people I'll be talking to, who I have to talk to, then how do I have to record these episodes and put it out onto the hosting platform. So it's all about the learning process. You get to know what you're doing, and then it gets easier from there. And you did talk about that particular word, right people. So what's that particular definition of the right people? Is it just about the people who are practicing that particular aspect of spirituality, or is it someone who just supports you into your own journey as well? They might have got different point of view but still supports your judgment or your opinions. How do you define those right people?
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point to make. I think your people can be simultaneously people who resonate with you on your particular journey, and also those who kind of just like support you from the sideline, for lack of a better term. But because I have both of those people. Um,
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to the different conversations that you have with them. Like, their presence in your life can be supporting in different ways. But I think your people is whoever you make it to be, whoever you feel safe around, whoever lights you up. And when you kind of go down this path and you're more connected to your soul, that's very obvious. It becomes very
Yeah.
obvious who is there for you, who is in your life for the right reasons, who has the right intentions. And you can feel that. So it's all about, discernment. And that's really just how you find your people.
That's so true, because we all have those set of people, and at times you don't have to give them justification. It just happens that they are so close to you, they will understand you. Some kind of misunderstanding, some kind of uh, disrespect with respect to the judgment may happen, but then it is part of a part and parcel of the journey. People have got opinions, we do have like I do have opinion, you might be having. So it's more about like how do you align at that particular point and then get ahead together into that particular journey. And we have seen that, Jennifer, now we are living into the modern life, like it just pushes us to the kind of a busyness and the distracted world. So when we talk about like live from your soul, what does it really mean to you, and how does it act as a catalyst in your daily spiritual growth as well?
I think living from your soul is living from the truth and kind of not just following society and what society's doing and what your parents think you should be doing and what you see on social media. It's kind of really getting still and figuring out what your soul's calling is, like what your life is about to you, and not
Yeah,
letting anybody else define that for you and defining that yourself. And that can be so incredibly challenging, especially with like TV and social media and, you know, the influence in schools nowadays. But if you get still, like the answers do come to you. And what you like, your desires out of life and what you truly want, it all comes to you. And I think that's kind of what living from the soul means, is living from like your deep inner truth.
and how do you deal with the distractions that comes with the kind of busy life or the distracted world we are living? Because there's so much to consume, there's so much to look out for onto the internet. It might happen that a person might you be looking for your business may not turn up into the same manner. That might happen. So when we talk about the truth, when we talk about the good people, how do you sort that particular life out? Because then you know your priorities as well, you know what does it mean to you. So, what's the usual process when you are guided on a spiritual path?
Yeah, that can be a tough one. And I'm sure you understand with like content creation and stuff, like we have to be online, like we have to be scrolling and seeing it and connecting with people. So we see all this like influence, and I guess it kind of comes back to like discernment and choosing what to filter in and what to filter out, because especially with like TikTok and Instagram, like you're scrolling and you're seeing like so many downloads coming in every second, and it's like you have to decide what is the truth and what's not, like what is your truth and what's not. And kind of how you were just saying before about people having different opinions but coexisting together. It's a very hard concept for people
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
internet. People are just like, my opinion is my opinion and it's right. But when you're kind of walking the spiritual path, I think that you can see different opinions and decide like that is okay that that person has that opinion, but that's not going to be my truth, or that's not going to be opinion that I resonate. And then being like, okay, like I'm just going to move past it, you know? So bringing in, filtering in what resonates with you in your soul, and then kind of filtering out all that doesn't.
Teach me the way of resisting, like not putting anything out there and then not going bashing them. I just want to know, like, I want to know that particular practice. How do you manage to do that, being calm into that particular situation and then just avoiding that in totality?
Oh God, I think it just takes practice, because
Yeah.
I mean, people have strong opinions, and I'm not saying that like I don't have like wicked strong
We
opinions
do
about
all have.
something. I see something and I'm like, damn, I don't agree with that at all. But it's like kind of just resisting.
Yeah, just withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah. You're kind of gonna get lost in the shuffle anyway, so just kind of think of it like that.
True. Uh, Jennifer, we have talked with respect to the spiritual growth and development. Now, I feel that there comes a part where we have to talk more about the inner healing as well, because uh, we have seen that with respect to the kind of past we had, the kind of moments we get into or we are living into, it's very hard on a person to navigate their own life as well. So somewhere down the line we have that upset heart as well, the mind, body and soul as well. So there's kind of a inner critic that you need to confront. in order to truly begin yourself healing as well. So how do you go at it? Like, what would be your practice for silencing that particular inner critic?
Oh man, my inner critic has been a bully for me
Oh,
my entire life, you know? I think one strategy that I use that's been like really helpful to me, and I actually learned it in one of my favorite books, The Untethered Soul. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, but he explains separating your mind from your consciousness, because the mind is just always chattering, and it's going to tell you, it's going to have all these limiting beliefs coming at you all the time. It's going to tell you that you're not good enough. It's going to tell you that like this wound should stay with you forever. This is who you are. Like people always abandon you. Whatever the narrative or the story may be, like the mind is always talking it. But like your consciousness is calm and still. And if you can kind of like separate yourself in a way and just kind of observe the mind, and in the book it talks about the mind being like neurotic in a way, and if you kind of just say like, that's not true, like no, you're unworthy, no, that's not true,
not
and you just separate yourself, that's been very helpful to me. Also, knowing that healing is a never ending journey, and there's not going to
yeah,
be one day where I'm like healed and perfect and feeling happy 24/7. That's just not realistic, and that's not part of the human experience. So,
right.
kind of sitting with that truth and understanding that you're going to feel the bad emotions, they're not going to stay forever though. So, if you just sit with it, let it pass, and then you'll be happy again. It's like the what's that quote? That life is a spiral. It's always going to be spiraling, and that's just what it is.
Absolutely. And when we talk about it's spiral as well, and if we talk into the 360-degree, again, it return backs to you as well. So I have this kind of a notion, like you just think about 180-degree. You don't have to make a full circle out there
Yeah,
because where you started, it leads you to that particular point again. So if you have to make sure that, yeah, you're growing, then make sure that you're not completing that particular full circle, because then again, it will bring you back to that particular point,
yeah.
and we have to grow from there as well. And you talked in a very right way, and the kind of example you shared is totally relatable, because healing is a continuous process. Whatever bad times we had, it's not sure that we may not have it in future as well. So we
Mm-hmm.
just have to keep it practicing the way we are growing, the kind of journey we had, because we get to interact with a lot of people, we get to see, we get to read, and decide our future course of action. And during that particular journey, it becomes very difficult. So while we are living this kind of a life, again, there comes a kind of a picture where we see that, where we read that there are a lot of misconceptions about self-healing as well, because people have got their own opinions. Look, if I'm practicing something, you'll be there and saying that, hey Rohit, this is not the way you have to do this. So I'll be telling you right way, but I don't get to that particular right thing ever, what is needed for me. So if I have to reorient more towards the empowering and transformative approach, what would be that particular thing if we have to take away those misconceptions and practice self-healing?
Something that you said really kind of stuck with me, that you're always thinking, am I doing it right? Like, am I ever going to reach that point where like I feel good? And I think striving for like kind of that goal is where we get tripped up in the healing process. It's kind of just an everyday thing that you're working at to feel good in the present moment. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, this like distant thing in the future, like this is the goal I have to work towards. You got to kind of bring yourself back to the present and really focus on like where you are right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that answers your question or if I'm like going off on a tangent, but
No,
I think
it's
you kind of
relatable.
doing whatever you can to make yourself feel good in the present moment and working through anything that's coming up in the present.
So, during that particular process, have you heard about any misconceptions when you started your journey into spirituality? Because it might have been a newer path for you, coming from that particular past and then venturing into something which was totally unknown, which was totally exciting as well. What kind of misconception you heard, you were knowing, and how did you navigate through those situations?
question. Misconceptions. I think the biggest one is that just like the healing journey, kind of how I've been saying, like the healing journey, you are going to feel whole and complete at some point. It's unrealistic. Like you're
Yeah.
always going to have challenges coming in. And I think sometimes people will phrase healing in that way that it's like this final destination where like you're going to feel good and like all your problems will go away. What you are and what you've experienced up until this point, you can't erase that. You kind of got to think of ourselves like our body is a vessel and we hold all these memories in it and they're never going to go away. We just learn how to deal with them better and we learn how to not let them affect us in our like present day reality, if that makes sense. So it's not
Yep.
so much about clearing all that stuff and pretending it never happened and like all of that. It's just accepting that, okay, that did happen to me. And I'm just going to work to not let it affect me so much now.
That totally makes sense. And as we said, like we are not perfect, and we all know that particular thing. We have to make sure that we are living with those flaws. So when I say that we all have got flaws, we have to adjust to those particular flaws as well. So I would like to know from you, like, do you love your shadow? Because when we start loving our shadow, it's quite dark as well. And it just speaks about like you respect your flaws as well. You are working on it, and while trying to be in conformity with your wholeness as well. So how do you integrate your flaws into your wholeness?
I love that question. And to be honest, I do love my shadow. Like, I 100% would not be who I am today without all that and without being able to confront it. I think about that all the time. Like, if I didn't confront like my deepest, darkest demons in that kind of dark night of the soul phase that I went through 2 years ago, I never would have this strength. I never would have this courage. So I think it's so important, not just for me, but for everybody to look at their shadow self in a completely different way, through a completely different lens. It's not this like dark, negative, bad, evil aspect of you that's holding you back. It is a part of you. And how you just said, like, if we are all striving for wholeness and completeness, then why are we shunning out that part of us? That is part of you, whether you like it or not. So when you learn to kind of integrate that and accept that that is a part of you and work through it, that's when you get towards more wholeness because you are accepting that these like so it's not evil. I how does Carl Jung describe it? It's just like the suppressed unconscious parts of you.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
that
been
was
like
deep.
super beneficial for me is loving that part of myself and understanding that I would not be who I am today without it.
Totally relate to that, and that was very deep, Jennifer. And during that particular process, as we talked earlier, like life is full of surprises as well. You never know what is going to happen at the next moment, and how we are going to react to that particular thing. And whatever usually happens to us, we don't often forgive ourselves for whatever actions we took if it doesn't go into the right direction. So how does that particular forgiveness plays a important role into the self healing process as well?
Yeah, forgiveness is huge. Like you said, forgiving yourself, but also forgiving others. I'll start with forgiving yourself. It's so easy to just see like an Instagram quote and be like, forgive yourself and you'll heal. And it's like, okay, but how do I do that? It's a slow moving process. It's kind of how I was describing before. You got to look back on like little things in your life and then just work one thing at a time. Forgiveness comes in like so many different shapes and forms, and you can't just like throw that feeling at yourself and expect to understand what to do with it, you know? So you got to look back and be like, okay, this little instance of my life, how can I forgive myself for that? I didn't know this piece of knowledge at the time. So how can I be so hard on myself? Or seeing your inner child, the little kid version of you in that situation rather than the adult version of you, and then kind of saying, well, how can I be so hard on my inner child? It's a kid, you know, they
Yeah.
didn't know any better. So it's kind of just like picking apart the situations and dissecting them in a way that can bring you inner forgiveness. So that's definitely how I would go about that with myself. With others, it's more just about releasing yourself from that burden, you know?
But do we really release ourselves?
Yes. Um, that could be a more challenging one, but
Yeah.
just releasing yourself from that burden of hate, resentment.
Hmm.
I guess that can also kind of work towards yourself as well. You know, you don't want to be carrying around any of those feelings inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jennifer, do you believe that it can, like, forgiving yourself or the others can become a form of self neglect as well? Because we are trying to forgive each and every part of it, whatever we are doing or the others are doing. And then we just want to make peace out of that. And so we are trying to forgive people so that we make peace out of it and move ahead with that particular thing. So it could be a form of self neglect as well. What do you think about that?
Um, I can totally see where you're coming from, but personally, I don't think it is. I think forgiveness releases the weight on us, and I don't think it necessarily gives these people like a pass. You know, it's not saying like what you did was okay. It's not saying that like I forget what you did. It's just saying that like I no longer want to carry that weight of resentment within me anymore. So I choose to forgive you. It's kind of the same thing where you see the stories about like parents forgiving like their children's murderers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah.
say, well, how on earth could they forget like such a heinous thing? But they're choosing to release that energy within them regardless, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
That's a great process too, and a great approach to look towards it. Because then, once we develop that kind of a perspective, it would be really easier for us to forgive ourselves as well and the others as well. And then we won't be living with the guilt that we
Yeah.
have forgiven. Yeah, because once we try to attach meaning to everything that we do, it again adds to the burden. And then uh, during that particular situation, we may take some decisions that may again go against us. So that is truly something that I wanted to know. And as you said about healing as well, like, I feel that our bodies has got the untold wisdom and stories, because we hide a lot of them into our own bodies. So a mind would be having something different, like your subconscious or the conscious mind will be having different, and the mind may be having very different thoughts. So how we can learn to listen to those subtle messages and signals our body sends us? Because if I have to connect with your own life, the kind of life you were living earlier, I'm sure that your mind was saying something, and then your body presented with you a very different version of yourself as well. So what was that particular situation, and how did you transform yourself into the deep healing process?
Oh man, that is a great point that our body kind of just like holds all these things that we have absolutely no idea about. I think there's so many ways to get in touch with that. Um, like we were just talking about before, shadow work, kind of going
Yeah,
into like those hidden aspects of your subconscious mind, really learning like what's going on in in the back,
yeah,
for lack of, for anybody who doesn't know like what shadow work is. But for me personally, it's been really connecting with my intuition, shadow work and connecting with my intuition. And that's kind of how I figure out what's going on with me at a soul level. When I was suppressing with the substances, like I couldn't connect to that inner guidance. And I think, to be honest, that's why alcohol is like so potent in our society, because they don't want you connecting with your inner guidance. Um, but sobriety has really like brought this to a new level for me. Meditation has brought this to a new level for me. It's really just like making that commitment to self. And it doesn't have to be something like so challenging. You know, like you don't have to go to these retreats in Bali, and you don't have to like go to 3 years of talk therapy, you know, like these, this like level of guidance is available to everyone. You could meditate, you could grab a shadow work journal off of Amazon. Like you have the ability to change within you. You just have to want it. And I wanted it so badly that I didn't even care like what was going to come up. I knew stuff was going to come up. You know, I knew I had some childhood shit, and I knew I had some heartbreak throughout my life, and I knew I was going to have to confront that stuff. But my desire for like happiness was way more potent than my fear of going through this uncomfortable process, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I can totally relate to your journey, Jennifer. I would be really sorry that I have been taking you back to those old days, and I'm trying to reflect on that particular journey. But like, can we just talk about that particular moment or a day when you thought that, no, this is the moment I totally want to change my life, and what really made you to think about that particular moment, and what was that particular moment looks like, or what was uh, it just really take away took away from that particular moment that you entirely changed your course of life?
This was in 2021. I was on the phone with a friend, and we used to talk on the phone every night for like a month. And this is when I was still very heavy into alcohol and substances, and I would wake up every single morning and not remember a word we spoke about. And something like hit me one of the mornings. I woke up and it was like this download, like I was talking about before. It's like, you gotta stop. Like you have to stop. Like, is this how you're gonna live the rest of your life? It was just like all these thoughts that I had never thought before, like coming in, like, you gotta stop, just all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop. So 7 years of drinking every single day, and I just completely stopped cold turkey. And I think what really helped me was the passion. Like, I just felt that freaking fire in my soul that I am meant for more. And right now, whatever I am doing is ruining my absolute life. And something gave me the strength. I can't tell you what. Um, Something gave me the strength to stop, to want to stop, and then to stop. Two completely separate things, right? Because we all have these wants and needs and desires for our life.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they're not burning an absolute fire in your soul, you're never going to take the step to actually do it. And I had that fire in my soul and I decided to follow it. And ever since then, like, I look back on that and I feel like if I had the strength to do that, if I had the strength to do this, I can do anything. And I think it just takes that one initial step forward, choosing yourself, that changes everything. And it did for me.
I'm super proud of you, Jennifer, and very congratulations that you took that particular step. It came to you and then you moved into that particular direction, because we all need to listen to these stories, we all need to listen or watch to this particular transformation, because it just instills a kind of a belief that it is possible, everything is possible, and a person can do all of it. It is not
Yeah.
something that it has went through your hands and no more you can longer chase your perfect self. We are not perfect, but we can strive to become a better person, a good person is what I believe. And you have become that particular one person into that journey. And right now we have seen that with respect to the kind of life we are living, a lot of emphasis has been placed on the external achievements and progress that we are making. So how we can shift that particular focus towards the cultivation of inner qualities and the values that will lead to genuine and lasting inner growth, because whatever we are externally, it is not our true self. We know that particular thing, you know that how it works. So what could be that particular way of shifting our approach towards the inner qualities?
I think it really just takes the willingness to pour into yourself, whatever that may look like for you. I think it's so easy, especially for people with families and just really like important careers. They never take the time for themselves. And then they just think that's either a luxury or something only X, Y, and Z people get access to. But we all need to prioritize that time to pour into ourselves, or we're just never going to find that true happiness, no matter how much money we make or how much possessions we have in our apartment, no matter how big our house is. We're never going to find that fulfillment. I think we have to start making time for things that make us happy, pouring into anything. It's creation. I say that all the time. Creation has been like my biggest muse. As silly as it sounds, making like Instagram videos or TikTok videos sometimes is just super like fulfilling to me because I get to pour
Yeah.
my creation into it. I get to like edit it and with the colors and the words and like the quotes, and it's me. So even if it's something as simple as that, we all have phones, right? Do something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
make a video, do an art project, something that just nourishes your soul in a way that's just not. How do I phrase this without sounding awful? Putting out value into the world. It's just value to you. It's not something that's going to be monetized or something that's like making you money, just something that you're doing for you because it makes you feel good. And that's it. Because a lot of times people think that, we have to be productive in a way that like what I'm doing is going to bring me in money, somehow. Like that's such a common thought that we can't be doing anything just for the sake of doing it because we like doing it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I think
Totally
it's important
relatable.
to start incorporating those things into our lives.
Yeah, and before coming to this recording, I just tweeted onto my profile that others would be had a very tiring day. Let's go to sleep. And here me, let's adjust the time zone and record another podcast episode. So that's totally the
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with going after achievements. I just think that we need to start finding that balance and not
yeah,
making our entire lives about the achievements because trust me, I have been up until 1 o'clock in the morning, many mornings, working on my website and working on all this stuff. Like going after achievements in this physical world is great and it brings you fulfillment in a way. But like I said, we just have to have that balance of things that are different, you know?
yeah. That's the super way of like knowing how it works for you. But then I have seen, Jennifer, that learning from others' experiences has been a very valuable lesson for each and every person. But ultimately, when we talk about the inner growth or something into our own personal journey, uh, how can we listen to that particular part? Because then people love to throw opinions, people love to give out or pass out the judgments as well. So your inner journey counts to yourself. So how we can strike that particular balance when we are seeking guidance, and where we have to balance like trusting your own inner wisdom and intuition as well.
Um, it comes back to trusting yourself, I think, and trusting that every decision that you're making is for your own good and kind of not worrying what other people have to say about that. I struggled with that for a long time, thinking like my family was, disappointed in me for the decisions I was making and taking the different path of society. But it really just comes down to trusting yourself. And if it feels good, just roll with it. Just roll with it because there are going to become new people circling in that do support you and what you're
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah, that is totally important, because once we know that there are people who are on a similar journey, and again, there are people who are supporting you into your own journey as well, it gets a lot easier because we know that they are backing us. Someone is living the similar journey as well. So, from that particular point, we get to know like how to strike a balance between what your inner growth looks like and what you're seeking out of it. And if you have to give a kind of a advice to whoever is feeling kind of a stuck or stagnant into their own inner growth journey, what would it would be, and like how they can just rekindle their inner spark?
My advice would be cut yourself some slack because there could be, honestly, I have to tell myself that all the time. And I just am like, don't be so hard on yourself, cut yourself some slack. It could be so easy to see all these coaches and Instagram posts and TikToks telling you to do this, do that, do this. Like this is the key to success. This is the key to inner happiness. This. Just cut yourself some slack and kind of separate yourself from all the noise and get still and really dive inwards. What answers are in you? Because everything you need is actually in here. It's not out there. It's in
Right.
here. If you really think about it, if you dive into like, I won't go into too many concepts, but there is a concept that everything in our outer reality is coming from our internal reality. So if you kind of start to think of it in that way, you really want to pour into your inner and then you see the results in the outer. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't take everything you see literally take everything with a grain of salt and really just like dive into your own truth. What feels good for you? What feels true for you? It doesn't matter about anybody else's opinion. What is good for you, your soul? And that would be my advice.
Definitely a great list. And if you're coming on to the last portion, last question that I would love to ask you, we have talked about the spiritual growth and development. We talked about inner healing as well. Now we are talking about the inner growth. So when we combine all of this, what is the sole purpose of this particular life? How do you define that particular thing? Is it about achieving enlightenment? Is it about reaching that self actualization, or simply becoming a more present, or say like a compassionate human being in the world? What would be your definition about it? Because we do all of it and then we never realize that we have to conclude somewhere. We have to conclude our life as well, where we are going, where it is heading. So how would you define all of this?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a little bit of everything that you said. I think it is striving for enlightenment, but I think that's very challenging for a lot of us to get to just in the context of society that we live in today. But I think as much as we can, striving for love and peace and just radical acceptance of what is, being able to live in the present moment without fearing the future or dwelling on the past. It's really just being, like you said, present, being able to be with ourselves, being able to show love, being able to show compassion. We get trapped in this like fearful, shameful, guilty vibration all the time. I think that's what the Matrix is trying to trap us in. But it's really just striving for like a higher vibration, striving for inner peace, love, and just like complete acceptance of what is in the present moment.
Wow. I'm just absorbing all of it so that I'll be taking actions on whatever you have said, whatever the way I have to transform myself, because then there's a lot to learn, there is a lot to understand, and a lot to study about this particular topic. It's so vast and so deep that maybe like our entire life will be incomplete to understand the core essence of it. It's just that we have to keep practicing all of these elements and make yourself comfortable with whatever way you are living. And I had total fun recording this episode, Jennifer. The kind of insights you have shared, the kind of experience you have got from your own life, it makes something which is very much to be vouched for. And I would urge all the listeners and the viewers to have that kind of a willingness for changing your own life, because this is something that will add glitters to your life as well. And thank you so much for being part of this. I totally loved the entire conversation. And if anytime a person happens to connect with you, the links to Jennifer's website or social media will be in the episode description. You can totally reach out to her, and she's a super helpful and kind person, is what I have learned. And totally loved this conversation. So thank you so much, Jennifer. It was pleasure talking to you, and I wish you
Oh,
very all the best in your future journey
thank,
and endeavors as well.
thank you for having me. This was awesome.
It was my pleasure. Stay happy, stay healthy. Bye bye, take care.